Senate President Escudero, good morning to you and congratulations.
Good morning, Karen. Good morning to our televiewers. Parang hindi bagay, Karen. Kahit ako, ang tawag ko kay SP Zubiri, ganun pa rin, SP pa rin.
Ganun pa din. So hindi ka pa sanay sa Senate President Escudero?
Hindi. At ako nga mismo, ang tawag ko, gaya ng sabi ko kay Senator Zubiri, SP pa rin hanggang ngayon. Hanggang nung huling araw namin.
All right. Okay, before we get on to the details of your leadership, you've been having press conferences in the last few days. And what was interesting to those in the know, to some sources, is in a press conference, you admitted or you claimed to initiate the ouster plot against Senate President Zubiri. And in fact, you even denied that the palace had a hand in it. I want you to clarify this because in February, when coup rumors came out, you were absolutely disinterested in being Senate President. And in fact, sources have said that when it was brought up to you recently, you weren't interested to make a move unless the numbers came. And sources have said there were other senators that were actually working on the ouster of Zubiri and not you. What really happened? Why did you suddenly say that you initiated this ouster plot?
Initiation, Karen, begins with deciding that you want to. And you're correct. At that time, early this year, I was not interested, although I had concerns myself about the direction the leadership was taking, especially with respect to charter change. I was not interested in the additional work. When I say I initiated, that was when I decided that I do want to take the leadership helm of the Senate if my colleagues will support me.
Okay, but Senate President Escudero, let's be factual about this. Did you initiate the coup, frankly, or were there disgruntled colleagues who initiated the coup and got the numbers for you?
To be fair, Karen, there were a lot of people. There were a lot of talks already, as you said yourself, early this year. But somehow the numbers won't come together to reach a majority. Each individual member had different reasons, had different reasons for wanting a leadership change. And I made the first call on Thursday to one of my colleagues. And that's why I picked that as a date when it started, because that was the first time I called someone actually about it.
Okay. The reason this is important is we now talk about Malacanang. Former Senate President Zubiri said there were outside forces involved. Sources tell us that, in effect, you weren't interested in the beginning. Then, okay, you were interested because the numbers started to grow. But then also that the other leaders supposedly in the running, they were not palatable to the palace. And in effect, you were the only candidate that the palace wanted.
That's unfair, Karen, because nobody ever accused Senator Zubiri of being a palace lackey, that he was chosen by the palace to be our Senate President. We've always stood up and said that we chose him as our Senate President. For him to say now or to accuse that if it's anyone other than him, then it's a palace lackey would be unfair because the palace does not even have a vote, Karen, does not even have a vote on this issue. Suffice it to say that senators elect the Senate President. And hindi ako nagsisinungaling nung sinabi kong ang unang tawag na ginawa ko ay Huwebes ng linggo bago nung pagpapalit ng Lunes. Pwede ko pa nga sabihin, ang unang tinawagan ko ay si Senator Bong Revilla. At sumunod-sunod na iba pagkatapos lang.
Okay. Matanong ko lang, no? So nung tinawagan mo yun, si Senator Bong Revilla, how many did you have already confirmed?
Wala pa, siya pa lang.
Are you serious? So when you made the call Thursday...
Well, Senator Revilla was the first one who actually expressed support.
Okay. And was Senator Jinggoy Estrada the second? Did you call him too?
I did not call him. It was Senator Revilla who called him up. I spoke to Senator Jinggoy, I think, weekend na.
All right. Because sources have also told us that Senator Jinggoy Estrada technically worked for the ouster plot?
Well, there was a rumored attempt to before that by Senator Jinggoy, but I was not part of it. Senator Jinggoy did not call me up, and I was not contacted because I think I was abroad at that time. So
Okay.
I was not made aware of it. I just heard the rumors after the fact.
All right. I wanted to ask you, Senate President Escudero, you were there at the PDEA leaks hearing.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
actually, you did say that the hearing was already running around in circles. Would you agree to what some experts say, that that was the nail on the coffin of former Senate President Zubiri's leadership?
No, Karen, that's an unfair accusation not only to me but also to Senator Bato. In fact, Senator Bato was emotional because he was made to understand that the reason why there was going to be a leadership change was because of him and because of the hearings. And that's why he was emotional. And that's an unfair statement to make. You know what I told Senator Bato before the vote? I told him, if that is the reason, and if we have 14 votes without you, I told him, then why would we even remove Senator Zubiri? We'll just remove you and get it over and done with, and not go through this whole exercise. Which proved to him that that was not the reason. And Karen, did anything change after that? Was Senator Bato removed from the committee? Was Senator Bato ordered to stop hearing this issue? No difference, no change was made. And Senator Bato, in fact, supported the change in leadership in the Senate. So I don't see ang sagot ko palagi sa mga nag-aakusa ng iba't ibang rason sa pagpapalit ay yung listahan ng bumoto. Halimbawa, sabi nila dahil daw sa PDEA hearings na gustong patigil, bakit sumuporta sa amin si Senator Bato? Sabi nila, lalahatin ko na Karen, sabi nila galaw daw ito ng Speaker Romualdez. Yung pinaka hindi niya kasundo sa amin na pinsan niya ay sumama rin sa pagpapalit ng liderato. Sabi nila, para daw ito sa Chacha. Mas maingay pa yata ako kay Senate President Zubiri sa Chacha at si Senator Villanueva. Against it at maingay din sa Chacha. Si Senator Amy, si Senator Villar, bakit nandito sila? Sabi nila, yung paa daw ni Senator Revilla. Si Senator Villanueva, sang-ayon sa akin, dapat payagan si Senator Revilla. Ba't magkaiba kami ng boto? Kaugnay sa bagay na yan. So, ang daling sagutin, Karen, ng mga haka-haka at aligasyon at kuro-kuro. Pero maliwanag na makikita sa boto na hindi yun ang dahilan. Sa dulo ang dahilan, kawalan at kakulangan ng kumpiyansa ng mayoriya ng miyembro ng Senado. Ano man ang dahilan nila, personal man o issue, nasa kanila na yun, individual.
Okay, that's quite
Sorry kung mahaba.
No, that's quite interesting that you actually enumerated some of the major issues, right? And then proved that these senators actually even voted for the change in leadership. So in a general sense, former Senate President Zubiri has always described himself as a consensus builder, as a leader who tried to make everybody in the Senate happy. Overall, why do you believe did his colleagues, why did they lose faith in his leadership? Because you weren't actively against him in February. So what was it really in his leadership that already pushed the change?
Well, slowly, again, Karen, individually, each member had their own respective reasons. And early this year, there was already those murmurs, as you said. In fact, it took quite some time. It took 5 months, 6 months. And secondly, Karen, I know he's a consensus builder. That's why I'm quite surprised that some of his statements pertain to a small group within the Senate. Meron palang ganun sa loob ng mayoriya namin dahil 22 naman talaga kaming sumuporta sa kanya. At nagugulat ako na biglang may 6 pala o 7 na yun lang talaga yung kanya. For me, there is no such thing. For me, walang grupo niya, walang grupo ko. Lahat kami miyembro ng Senado. In fact, I'll go a step further. Majority or minority. Pareho-parehong miyembro ng Senado yan at sinabi ko sa aking pagtanggap ng posisyon na pantay ang magiging tingin ko sa kanila. Walang group of 6, walang group of 7, walang minority, walang majority. 24 senators ang tingin at pagtrato ko sa bawat isa.
Okay. It's interesting you pointed that out because they've labeled themselves as Magic 7, I believe, no? Parang, I don't know, the Avengers, I think, are 8, but like the Magic 7. You can correct me with this, Senate President. I don't know how many they are, but labeling like terms like the Magic 7. Was that a factor, you believe, in why some of your colleagues opted for a change? The behavior of that inclusivity, that exclusivity?
Well, perhaps that's one of them, Karen. That was never an issue for me kasi hindi naman ako maganon, ika nga, mahilig sa mga ganyan. Buo, and I look at the Senate as one whole unit, one whole institution. And that all of a sudden there's such a thing. Well, the question now naturally should be raised, as you have, is ngayon lang ba yan o matagal na ba yan? Ganun ba talaga yung pagpapatakbo at palakad? Kahit noon pa, para sa akin nga dapat kasi kasama lahat, involved lahat, dahil iisang senador lang, Karen, pwedeng harangan ng pagpasa ng batas. So para angkinin ko halimbawa, Senate President man o hindi, na ito ang nagawa ko at napasa ko, mahirap gawin yon. Dahil kailangan mo ang tulong ng bawat isa, kabilang na minority, para mapasa ang anumang panukalang batas. Because in the Senate, uniquely compared to the House, one senator can actually block the passage of any bill, of any measure. Unlike in the House where they can run over a singular member given that there are 299 more. In the Senate, the story is different.
Okay. Now, what kind of Senate president do you want to be?
I don't know, Karen. I just want to focus on the Senate as an institution. I have no dreams or ambitions of running for higher office as one would usually say or think. Sabi nga ng ibang mga kaibigan ko, oh, game na. Game na saan? Kayo naman, tumakbo na tayong vice nga. Vice na nga lang, talo pa. Tama na, hanggang dito na lang. Gawin na lang natin yung magagawa natin dito. So I guess I'll be focused on the Senate, Karen. The institution, the employees, the officials, and the institution to be able to perform and do its job in the best way it can. Both both knowing what history is and has done the Senate and made the Senate, and what we want to forge the future history of the Senate is.